Once again, folks, that is Harris Rubenstein. I am Tom Downey. We talked about the playoffs. Let's talk now about the draft and the teams that are already eliminated, the teams that aren't going to make it anywhere. They're looking at the next year. They're trying to tank right now. We'll give you our mock draft here. We'll start with the Phoenix Suns. They're the projected #1 pick, of course. We'll see what happens in the lottery, but this is as things sit right now. What do you think of Phoenix, Eric?
So with Phoenix, it all revolves around two guys. It revolves around Devin Booker and Josh Jackson. They have a lot of other decent dudes on the team, but this is the core of them all together. I think they got to get someone down low that they can build around. Josh Jackson has been a really nice player at the 3 for the most part, but they got to build around these two dudes, and they need to get someone down low. And lucky for them, they have one of the best down low guys to come out of the draft in a long time. And with the first overall pick in the draft, we have the Phoenix Suns taking DeAndre Ayton, the power forward and center out of Arizona, who, while he did massively disappoint in March Madness to the tune of losing to Buffalo in the first round of the tournament. Thank you, Arizona, for ruining my bracket on the first day of the entire tournament.
Everyone's bracket got ruined.
But DeAndre Ayton is an absolute monster, and he wants to get better at defense as well. He's just an offensive powerhouse. I think DeAndre Ayton is what people think Marvin Bagley is. DeAndre Ayton is maybe the most physical player to come out of the draft since Dwight Howard. He is a monster down low. He's an intense rebounder. He's a supreme competitor, and my player comp for him is Patrick Ewing. I really think that he can end up being that kind of player. I think he's going to develop a little bit of an elbow jumper in the NBA as well, but he's the perfect fit for what the Phoenix Suns do on offense with Devin Booker, with Josh Jackson. I think Elfrid Payton is a really good pick for point guard as well with what Ayton can bring you down low. Watch out for DeAndre Ayton with the Phoenix Suns. It's honestly one of the best fits in this entire draft player to team.
They need a big.
They do.
And they can finally get one. As much as I love Luka.
And also, I think DeAndre Ayton's going to help get the best out of Marquise Chris if they end up keeping him, but that obviously is a big maybe.
Chris. All right, so the Suns take Ayton at #1. Let's go to #2 then. As it sits right now, it is the Memphis Grizzlies, as they very much embrace the tank.
They have embraced the tank, and it kind of doesn't help when Mike Conley, probably the best player on the entire team, gets injured to start the season. You have Marc Gasol. He's been having a nice year, but he's hardly a center anymore. He keeps shooting threes. He's always outside the arc. But I think that what this team needs, they need an injection of youth down low. They need someone to let Gasol work with in the paint. They need to make sure that Dylan Brooks isn't the primary option on offense. So with the #2 overall pick, I have the Memphis Grizzlies taking Marvin Bagley III out of Duke. He's honestly one of the best players in this entire draft. I think he could end up being the best player overall in this draft. I just don't think right now he's ahead of DeAndre Ayton. People are probably going to yell at me in the YouTube comments saying, why don't you have Doncic coming second? I think a lot of NBA teams are lower on Doncic than people think. I think Bagley is going to go #2 behind Ayton going #1, but he's also the perfect fit for what the Grizzlies like to do on the offensive defensive side of the ball. My comp for Marvin Bagley for a long time, and I really do love this comp. I think it's hilarious. He's Amari Stoudemire. Like, that's the player he is. I think he has that kind of speed. He can play at that kind of tempo. On defense, we'll see what happens. That was always Amari on defense. Can he play defense? We'll see. People are talking.
Can run, though.
But I think that Marvin Bagley going to the Grizzlies, give him to Marc Gasol, let Gasol kind of mold him to a really complete player. And I got to make this clear. He is not Jahlil Okafor. Do not put that curse on Marvin Bagley. And also, mind you, he's going to be one of the youngest players to come out of the draft this year. He should have been a senior in high school this year.
That's fair. Let's get to #3 then. As it sits right now is the Atlanta Hawks, as they've had a rough go of things in the Eastern Conference, more or less as planned, however.
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking about doing an NBA show for this year, I actually created a segment that was called What's Going On with the Hawks This Year? And it literally just would have been a segment of us laughing at the Hawks because they're just so terrible this year.
We didn't do that.
Schroeder he's been a nice player. And then John Collins, who I told you in the beginning of the year was going to be a really nice player for them. He has turned out to be one of the best players on the entire team and one of the best rookies in the entire NBA. I can't wait to see what he does, but he needs someone on the outside that can shoot along with Schroeder, and that's why there's the perfect guy on the board for him. You got a German. Why not add to him another European player, the Slovenian monster, Luka Doncic?
At #3 overall. I love Luka. I don't know why NBA teams are so like, oh, no, let's not take him. Like, the dude actually puts up numbers overseas and against good competition overseas. You don't see that.
No.
Kristaps didn't do it.
Nope.
Luka does.
Yes.
Sign me up.
The reason that I think that Luka Doncic is a kind of a different animal, his ability to shoot is really, really impressive. I think that we're going to see his three-point shot in the NBA maybe need to work a little bit better. But for the most part, I'm really happy to see what Luka's been able to do so far this year. I thought he was going to take a major step back after not coming to the NBA last year. But now he's coming this year. He's going to land in the perfect spot with the Hawks. He's going to take over that entire franchise when he moves there. He is the most exciting international prospect to come out since Kristaps, and my comp for him is Manu Ginobili. I think it's a perfect fit.
I'm a big fan of Luka. I am totally okay with him going number 1 overall as well.
Yes, I agree.
He's going to put up the numbers that you want.
Let me make this clear.
Give me that guy.
Ayton, Bagley, and Doncic are going to go 1, 2, and 3. I don't think there's any question anymore. The 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, we don't really know what's going to end up happening with them. But 1, 2, and 3 in some order is Ayton, Bagley, and Doncic. That's the 3. Those are the top 3 prospects in the draft.
All right. We'll get to a reaction poll here as well in just a second. But, Harris, I am curious, if you're running an NBA team and you're starting from scratch, are you going from scratch? Are you going with the big man, or are you going with one of the guards like Luka, or are you going with Marvin Bagley, maybe a little in between the full-on big man like Ayton?
I'm going to go DeAndre Ayton, mostly because I think you've seen that you can build around him without him being your number 1 player, if that makes a lot of sense. So, for instance, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, Karl-Anthony Towns is still the best player on the team, but he's not the number 1 guy. They still have Jimmy Butler. That's why they brought him in. Ayton is a great guy to build around, to build an offense around, a sturdy guy down low that when you need a bucket, you can go down low to DeAndre Ayton if your jump shots aren't working. That's what the T-Wolves have done with Towns now for a couple years. When nothing's working, just let it go to Towns down low and let him bang it off the glass. I think Ayton is the perfect guy for any team to build around.
Perhaps I've been burned too much by big men going early and not having much success. Give me Doncic. I'll take the European shooter who's putting up great numbers overseas, which we don't ever see.
My worry about him, for the most part, I'm not really sure what his defined position is going to be in the NBA. Is he going to be a primary ball handler? Is he going to be a primary shooter? Does he play the 3? We'll see what happens with him.
All right, folks, once again, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Harris Rubenstein. We're going through our NBA mock draft brought to you by Game Time. Let's get to the number 4 pick. As it sits right now, of course, the lottery could change everything. The Dallas Mavericks check in at number 4, Harris. They've got Dennis Smith Jr. as one young core piece, and maybe Harrison Barnes, but they definitely need more help.
They do need more help, and I know that their team needs, or they need a power forward in the center, so you might say, Harris, why aren't you giving them Mo Bamba? Well, they already went through the Nerlens Noel experiment, and I don't think they're going to want to go through it again. So at number 4, I have the Dallas Mavericks taking Michael Porter Jr. I know they have a 3 in Harrison Barnes. I know that they have the primary shooter on the wing, but Michael Porter Jr. gives you a really, really good player in terms of what he's going to be able to bring over the course of his career. I think he's going to be exactly like Gordon Hayward. He's going to be a little bit of a slow grower in the NBA. I don't think he's going to come out of nowhere and completely dominate, but I think for the most part, this is going to be a really, really good pick for them. They got to get someone at the 3 that can also play a little bit of 4. They need a versatile scorer on the wing that isn't Harrison Barnes, because the guy is so unbelievably inconsistent. Michael Porter Jr. is going to be a great fit. You add him along with Dennis Smith Jr., and all of a sudden you have 2 really nice pieces to build around. 2 pieces also, mind you, who can play defense. That's going to be a really big thing for this team. Rick Carlisle loves playing defense. They're not just going to take a random offensive guy. They need someone who can play defense.
How much does that back surgery concern you?
It concerns me a little bit, but at the same time, he came back and played this season, which A, shows me a lot of mental toughness, and B, also shows me a willingness that he's able to play through injuries, but also for the fact that they wouldn't have let him come back if he wasn't okay. He just was very out of shape.
All right, so the Mavericks there take Michael Porter Jr. at number 4. Let's head now to number 5. As it sits right now, it is the Orlando Magic. Maybe Jonathan Isaac is a core piece, but a whole lot of question marks outside of that.
Yes, and I think that they have a lot of moves to go because we don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Gordon this offseason. Could he leave? Will they trade him? We're not really sure. But at the same time, I don't think it really matters.
All right, let's get to the pick then here. At number 5 overall, Harris, you have the Orlando Magic selecting Mo Bamba, the big man shot blocker out of Texas.
Yes, I do, because I think he's going to be a perfect fit next to Jonathan Isaac. I really like what Bamba brings to the table. I know that a lot of people aren't crazy about him because they think he's soft and he's going to get pushed over in the NBA and this and that. Look, I see a guy who can be molded into whatever kind of center that you want. Because people underestimate Mo Bamba. He has a decent jump shot as well. I always see him working in the gym with a nice jumper. I always see him trying to get better at that side of his game. I think he's going to be a really, really good player in the NBA. But for now, what the Magic need, they just need an intimidator down low, and they need someone who can actually do something as a starting center. I know Vucevic has been an okay player, but they're probably going to move on from him. Jonathan Isaac can't stay on the court. He's probably more of a 4 than a 5. So So they bring in Bamba. They're going to let him block some shots, let him set some picks. Hopefully they bring back Hazani, who's had a really good year. I think Bamba fits in well with what they're trying to do, and it also will allow them to move on from Aaron Gordon if they so desire.
All right, folks, those of you just joining us, here were the first 5 picks in our NBA mock draft. DeAndre Ayton goes to the Suns. Marvin Bagley goes to Memphis. Luka Doncic goes to the Atlanta Hawks. The Mavs take Michael Porter Jr., and Mo Bamba just went to the Orlando Magic. To number 6 overall pick here is the Sacramento Kings. They've got De'Aaron Fox, some other notable young pieces there. What do they need the most, though, Harris?
Well, for me, they need someone on the outside. They need a wing player who can actually do something, and they also need someone down low. I just think they need a grinder. They need someone who can play basketball at the 4 or the 5 that isn't Willie Cauley-Stein, who, mind you, is one of the worst offensive players in all of basketball. He's a great defender, but I think they need someone with versatility. They need someone with length, and they need someone who can score the basketball. I think you'll like my pick.
All right, let's get to the pick then here. The Sacramento Kings, number 6 overall, go with Jaren Jackson, the big man out of Michigan State.
I'm higher on him than I think a lot of people are, and also if you look online, you'll see him at different places in the top 10, but I think that Jaren Jackson is a really, really good player. I have him described as the power forward version of Miles Turner. He's not as big as Miles Turner, though he is still a pretty big guy.
I like Miles Turner a lot.
But I think that Jaren Jackson is a great fit with the Kings. You put him next to Willie Cauley-Stein, let him dominate down low. They're also going to be a really good defensive coupling as well. Give him to De'Aaron Fox. Let him dish out some passes. He's also a much better shooter than I think people give him credit for. He was grossly underused in the tournament, but Jaren Jackson, I think, is going to end up being one of the best players in this entire draft class. He's long. He's versatile. He can score. He can rebound. He can pass. And also, from what we've heard, he's also a very nice person, which is also, always a consolation. I think he mixes very well with the personality of De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, Miles Bridges has a very large personality as well coming out of Michigan State, so he's used to dealing with those kind of guys. He's very young. You can grow around him, and no, he is not Thomas Robinson, who they busted on out of Kansas.
The numbers aren't great, though.
No.
11 points, 6 boards. How much does that concern you?
It doesn't concern me that much because he's still so young. He's a very raw prospect, but this isn't a Kings team that's trying to win tomorrow. I mean, they drafted De'Aaron Fox. If they wanted to win games right now, I don't think they would have drafted De'Aaron Fox, who, mind you, is still a very raw offensive player. So they're all going to grow together. They're all going to get better as they go. Jaren Jackson might not be people's favorite picks, but Michael Porter Jr. isn't on the board. If Michael Porter Jr. is on the board, the Kings are going to run up to the podium and say, Michael Porter Jr., and then run away. But he's gone because I have the Mavs taking him, so they're going to take Jaren Jackson.
All right. Jackson of the Kings at 6. Up next is the Cleveland Cavaliers at number 7, thanks to that Brooklyn Nets pick here. What are the Cavs looking for? I think a lot of this here does depend on what do they view LeBron James' future as.
This is the easiest pick I think I have mocked for the entire time that we're going to do this, because it's pretty obvious who they're going to take. They need a player who entices LeBron James, and they need a player who is going to entice the franchise to actually stay interesting if/when he ends up leaving. So I think that this is a pretty easy pick. They need someone at the 1 or the 2 that can bring a little bit of fire to Quicken Loans Arena. I think you'll like my pick.
Let's get to the pick here. The Cleveland Cavaliers at number 7 overall via the Brooklyn Nets take Oklahoma point guard Trae Young-Harris, the scoring machine.
This one for me is probably the easiest pick that I could have mocked to any singular team. Look, this is exactly what they need to entice LeBron to come back. The next Steph Curry? Oh, who's the one player that LeBron keeps trying to beat? The actual Steph Curry. Now, I don't actually think that Trae Young is going to end up being Steph Curry. My player comp for him is C.J. McCollum, a really consistent shooter, someone who's going to be way better off the pick and roll without the ball in his hands all the time. I don't think Trae Young should ever be your primary ball handler, but I think that Trae Young is going to be a really, really nice player at the next level.
All right, so Trae Young there is the pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I love his scoring ability. If you retain LeBron James, I love the idea of LeBron driving Trae Young in the corner, raining threes.
Exactly. And
it's a lot of fun right there.
This is a guy that also with Trae Young, he averaged 10 attempted threes per game, and I really don't see that stopping anytime soon. This is a guy that likes to shoot the ball and is going to continue to shoot the ball no matter where he gets drafted.
All right, Cavs there at number 7 take Trae Young. At number 8, we have the New York Knicks, and they're looking for another player to build around with Kristaps Porzingis, maybe Frank Ntilikina becomes an option for them. What do the Knicks need the most, Harris?
Well, the Knicks need a safe, consistent player on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Basically what they need a wing version of Tim Hardaway Jr., and I think they have the perfect player in the draft for that, but this is a team that is trending upwards with Kristaps. They don't need a ton of pieces. They just need more talent is what they need. So if you're going to get a guy that's consistent and safe, I think at number 8 you got to go with more of a safer pick rather than a raw player.
All right, let's get then to the pick here. The New York Knicks at number 8 overall in our lottery mock draft go with Bridges, not Miles, though. It's McCall, the small forward for Villanova.
I was very, very tempted to give them Miles Bridges out of Michigan State, but I just don't think they can afford to take a guy who might bust in the NFL or in the NBA, excuse me. I think they need a guy who's going to be safe, and that's what Mikal Bridges brings you. He brings you a 3-and-D player. He can score from beyond the arc. He can cover most players off the dribble. He's a very consistent and good player, and I think that's what they need around Kristaps. They don't need another superstar. They have Kristaps Porzingis. Grow the team through him. Grow the team through Frankie Smokes. I give an example. That's why I have my player comp to him as Otto Porter. When the Wizards were trying to draft and grow players around Bradley Beal and John Wall, they didn't need another superstar. They needed a player that fits the perfect role for the team, and a 3-and-D player like Mikal Bridges is the exact role that the Wizards need fitting.
All right, folks. So Bridges there goes number 8 to the New York Knicks here. What do you make of his fit alongside Porzingis? Or do you want Porzingis to maybe move down to the 5 potentially because of his injuries?
I think it's a perfect fit. I think Kristaps, with how he's been playing, that unicorn position of the 4 or 5 or really anywhere down low that they want him, it's fine because when you bring in a guy like Mikal Bridges, he's not coming in and stomping on toes. He's going to play a 2 or a 3. He's going to be a good rotational guy as well for when they need to give Tim Hardaway a break. Remember, this is a really good shooter as well. I'm really excited to see what the Knicks are going to be able to do if they get Mikal Bridges. He's a smart player. He's a really good guy as well. He's a consistent player. And also a report came out from Woj saying that NBA teams are lining up to get guys from Villanova, and Bridges is going to be one of those first guys.
Right, Knicks there at number 8. At number 9 is the Chicago Bulls. Excuse me. Maybe some core pieces in Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn. But do they really need to replace Jimmy Butler first and foremost, Harris?
They do, but not in terms of an overall player and his playing style, because if you put Jimmy Butler with this team, with kind of how Zach LaVine plays, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. What they need is his on-court intensity and his passion for basketball. They need another guy like that. And there are a lot of players in the draft like that, but they need someone at the 3 who can come in and match up with Zach LaVine, play a little defense, play a little offense, and also be the on-court leader for the team that they just don't quite have yet.
Let's get to the pick then here. The Chicago Bulls at number 9 overall go with the other Bridges, Miles Bridges out of Michigan State, Harris.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think, again, I mentioned this the last time that we went over Miles Bridges. This is the best team-to-player fit, I think, in the entire draft. If you would ask the Bulls fans what they need, the exact definition of it is Miles Bridges. They need a guy like him who can play some defense, who can also shoot, who can also be a bigger guy as well. He can play a little bit of 4 if you need him to because he's got that size. He's a little bit of a tweener, but he's athletic enough to play the 3. This is a really, really good player. He's going to be a day 1 starter if he gets drafted by the Bulls. I don't think he should spend time on the bench. The best thing for Miles Bridges is going to be what team he goes to. I think he needs to go to a team where he's going to start instantly.
All right, Harris, I'll ask you this question, and everyone watching as well. Which Bridges would you rather have?
I want Miles Bridges more.
Okay.
I think Miles Bridges is the better overall player with the higher ceiling. I think Mikal Bridges has a higher floor but a lower ceiling, if people understand what that means. That he's not going to be a total bust, but he might not end up becoming as good as Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges has way more potential. I'm still a true believer that Miles Bridges could end up being one of the best players in the entire NBA if his career goes correctly. He's a really, really good overall basketball player. I think he'd be a perfect fit with the Bulls.
All right, folks, today's NBA lottery mock draft is brought to you by the Game Time app. Get it today at chatsports.com/tickets. Up to 60% off if you're trying to find last-minute NBA tickets. Playoffs just around the corner, man. If you're trying to go, you got to use the Game Time
They'll be
app.
a lot cheaper.
Yes. All right, let's move now to number 10. It is the Charlotte Hornets, who are once again back in the lottery. Maybe Kemba Walker hangs around if the team try to trade him. Malik Monk, I like a lot, hasn't played a whole lot, though.
No, he hasn't. And I think for the most part with Kemba Walker, they burned him. I don't know why there was any talk about them ever trading him. I think that this whole season has kind of fallen apart for them. They had a lot of really good prospects coming into the season. I thought Malik Monk was going to end up being the perfect player for them. I also think he should have gone to the Kings to play with his childhood best friend De'Aaron Fox, but the Hornets made sure that wasn't going to happen. He also almost went to the Knicks, but again, the Hornets ended up snatching him. So now they have 2 shooters. They have 2 guards. Malik Monk will have a nice career. They just have to actually play him. So now they need someone down low to really center what they're going to be able to do, because Dwight Howard is not long for Charlotte.
Let's get to the pick then. At number 10 overall in our lottery mock draft, the Charlotte Hornets have selected Wendell Carter, the big man out of Duke.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect fit. My player comp for him is Al Horford. And once I figured out who he was in the NBA, that's perfect because he's never going to be a guy who puts up crazy amounts of points. He's never going to be an offensive force. But what he's going to be a great distributor for a big man. He's going to be the defensive leader on the court as well. He's going to be able to cover 2, maybe even 3 positions sometimes, depending on where you go. He can play the 5 when you go small ball. I think he's the perfect fit for the Hornets. I really do. I think that if you put him there, you give him with Kemba, you allow him to do some picks with him as well. There's a reason why Trayvon Duval was so good this year with Duke. And they ran a lot of pick and rolls with Wendell Carter as they did with Marvin Bagley. But his efficiency as well down low is really, really inspiring. He's one of the best defensive players in this entire draft. The Hornets need a guy like him. They need consistency down low.
All right, for those of you just now joining the show, we'll take you back here and recap the picks so far. At number 1 overall is DeAndre Ayton going to Arizona. Marvin Bagley goes number 2 to the Memphis Grizzlies. Luka Doncic goes number 3 to the Hawks. The Mavs take Michael Porter Jr., and Mo Bamba goes to the Orlando Magic. At number 6, the Kings took Jaren Jackson. Trae Young goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Mikal Bridges goes number 8 overall to the Knicks. The Bulls take Miles Bridges, and the Hornets then take Wendell Carter. And that brings us to pick number 11 here. It is the Philadelphia 76ers. Their key players, of course, are Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. They're picking number 11 via the Lakers pick.
They were supposed to be the Lakers pick, so the Lakers won't be getting that young player this year. Though if they ended up in the top 5, that pick would have gone to the Celtics. But this Sixers team, they need someone at the 3. They need someone that isn't Robert Covington to really open things up, They need someone at the 2 as well, but Markelle Fultz might end up being the 2 when they have Ben Simmons on the court. So what they need now, they need someone with a high ceiling. They need someone who can score, who can make his own shot from the wing, who can also play a little bit of defense, but also someone whose personality matches the rest of the team, because I think that's really important. I'm not really sure how well Markelle Fultz matches up with the rest of the team, but they need a guy on the wing who can play a lot of different roles.
All right, let's get to the pick then here at number 11 overall. The Philadelphia 76ers take the small forward from Kentucky, Kevin Knox.
I love this pick. And, Sixers fans probably when the draft happens are going to be clamoring for Miles Bridges. Because, again, Miles Bridges is a perfect fit for a lot of teams, including the 76ers. But I like Kevin Knox. I think he's going to be a really nice player in the NBA. I don't think he's going to be a superstar. I have him as Paul George, and I know it's like, oh, you don't think he's going to be a superstar. But I don't think he's ever going to – you're never going to want him to be the number 1 guy on your team. You're going to want him to be a complimentary dude. You're going to want him to be someone at the wing that can rain some threes, get some open shots, and play a little defense as well. He's got a lot of work to do. He is insanely raw. He had way worse of a season at Kentucky than I honestly anticipated him having, which is why I think him going to the 76ers is a great fit for him. Let him grow next to Markelle Fultz. Let Joel Embiid give him open space on the outside, and let Ben Simmons control the offense. You don't want to get someone who at the small forward is going to try to be the primary ball handler. Keep the ball in Ben Simmons' hand and get a big-time shooter.
All right, so the Sixers take Kevin Knox there at number 11. Let's go to number 12 then, and we have the Los Angeles Clippers, Harris.
And yeah, this is a team that needs talent. They need young talent because all they have right now are a bunch of veterans on big-time deals. They have a lot of injuries as well. Patrick Beverley's gone, or not gone, he's gone for the season. You have Danilo Gallinari, who always seems to be injured no matter what he does. Blake Griffin is now gone. Lou Williams is now signed as a core player. We don't know what's going to happen with DeAndre Jordan, so I have them taking a very safe pick.
All right, let's get to the pick then here at number 12 overall. The Clippers go point guard, and they take the man from Alabama, Colin Sexton.
It's
with
perfect,
great hair, by the way.
Because his player comp is Eric Bledsoe. And what do you know? The Clippers actually drafted Eric Bledsoe when he came out. I think this is a great fit. Colin Sexton brings so much on-court intensity to the game, and that is exactly what the Clippers are looking for. Can you imagine Colin Sexton and Patrick Beverley on the court at the same time? Those are two absolute studs at point guard who are going to lock you up defensively, make sure you know about it when they block your shot, and are also prolific scorers on the offensive side of the ball. Colin Sexton is a little bit more than Patrick Beverley. Sexton is going to bring a lot of dynamic options and versatility to the Clippers as well. I think that he's a perfect fit for what Doc Rivers likes to do on offense. And also, for God's sakes, and make sure that Austin Rivers' minutes get cut down a little bit because that dude should not be allowed to have as many minutes as he currently has. It also doesn't take away shots from Lou Williams. I think you'll see Colin Sexton do a little bit more passing.
All right, so the Clippers also hold the number 13 overall selection. This one is their actual pick here, Harris. So we've discussed them a little bit. We'll dive right into the pick here. Number 13 overall, the Clippers. This time, Harris, they go big man Robert Williams out of Texas A&M.
This is I think they're going to trade DeAndre Jordan this offseason or during the NBA draft. I think he's gone. I think DeAndre Jordan is gone. I think Robert Williams is going to be the guy to come in to really fill him out. Look, my player comp for him is Larry Sanders with an exclamation point, as you made a joke of before the show.
Larry Sanders.
Larry Sanders. So Robert Williams is a really nice player out of Texas A&M. He's a big man down low. He doesn't have a great offensive profile, very similar to DeAndre Jordan, but he's a very good defender, and he's a very good rebounder. I think another good player comp for him would be a Tristan Thompson kind of guy, someone who isn't necessarily a prolific guy on the offensive side of the ball, but is a smart player, uses analytics to get ahead, someone who can use positioning as well and his big body to really get an advantage over other players. Robert Williams is a good player. I think he's going to be consistent for them. He's not going to blow up the world. He's not going to be a DeAndre Jordan, but I think Tristan Thompson or Larry Sanders would be a really good fit for this team.
So the Clippers there at number 13 take Robert Williams. One final lottery pick here. We move now to the Denver Nuggets, the closest team to make the playoffs, but as of right now, they're just not in it. What are they looking for, Harris?
What they're looking for is depth. They have a lot of great starters, which is so surprising that they're not in the playoffs. They have Jamal Murray. They have Gary Harris. They have Nikola Jokic. They have Paul Millsap, and Wilson Chandler on his day is a really nice player as well. But what they need right now is someone who can come in for a Jamal Murray or a Gary Harris and bring you defense and scoring off the bench at the guard position. They need someone that also has a lot of ceiling to him and a lot of potential. Probably has a lot of bust to him as well, but they need a high ceiling guy.
Let's get to the pick then here. The Denver Nuggets at number 14 overall go with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a.k.a. SGA, because that's much easier to say, the point guard out of Kentucky.
SGA is probably the biggest riser of any player who starred in March Madness as of right now. He is your March Madness riser. He looked fantastic. He looked versatile. He looked powerful. He looked like a great shooter. Everything you want coming out of the NBA this year. And also he looked like a guy who can play defense against NBA quality guards, and that's what the Nuggets need. Look, Jamal Murray and Gary Harris are only two guys. They're two really nice players, but they need to be able to take a rest and not completely fall apart on defense. SGA will come in and be a quality defender right away. His jump shot needs a little bit of improvement, but that'll just come with time. I'm a little worried about his overall bust potential. I think of any pick in the lottery, he has the highest potential to bust. But at the same time, you're picking a guy at 14. It's not the end of the world.
All right, let's recap all the picks that Harris made here in his NBA mock draft lottery edition. Number 1, DeAndre Ayton goes to the Suns. Marvin Bagley goes to the Memphis Grizzlies here. Luka Doncic goes number 3 to the Atlanta Hawks. The Mavericks take Michael Porter Jr. out of Missouri at number 4. Mo Bamba goes number 5 to the Orlando Magic. Then the Kings take Jaren Jackson. The Cleveland Cavaliers get their shooter in Trae Young. The Knicks take Mikal Bridges out of Villanova at number 8. The Bulls take Miles Bridges at number 9 overall. The Hornets snag Wendell Carter. And then your last 4 picks, Kevin Knox goes to the 76ers. Colin Sexton and Robert Williams go 12-13 to the Clippers. And then at 14, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a.k.a. SGA, goes number 14 to the Denver Nuggets.